Neverwinter is a free-to-play, massively multiplayer online RPG, because there's not enough of those about, am I right? It was released in June 2013 and is based on the ever so popular Dungeons & Dragons franchise. Originally exclusive to PC, it was later released on Xbox in 2015 and PlayStation in 2016. And most importantly, it was Josh Strife Hayes' favourite MMO, the keyword there being was. So what went wrong? Why isn't this bigger than WoW? Is this just another generic MMO loosely associated to a popular franchise? Or is there more to this MMO than the stats seem to suggest? To find out more, stick around as I look into whether it's worth playing Neverwinter in 2023. Let's go. There are two things in this world which will forever be popular, and that is of course Dungeons & Dragons and video games. So it seems like an obvious idea to try and combine the two, which is why it should come as no surprise when I say this is the second Dungeons & Dragons MMO to be created. The first one of course being Dungeons & Dragons Online, which some would argue is a more purist D&D game. Get this video to 69 likes and I might even review it. Might. However, today's review is of course about Neverwinter, which means it's very friendly to noobs like myself who are very new to the D&D world. So yes, if you do understand the world of D&D, this game will have a certain sense of familiarity to it. And if you don't, well, it's pretty similar to any of your other run-of-the-mill MMORPGs. And with that being said, let's take a look at the gameplay. So one of the first things you'll notice is that it's opted for action gameplay. It hasn't gone for the old school tab targeting, it is more of a free targeting system where if you don't hit the target, it will let you know with a nice little FUD sound effect. And boy does that get fucking old. This game does encourage you to move out of AoEs and even kite round enemies, which does add a certain element of skill to the gameplay. The only way the combat could be better is if it allowed you to actually move and cast skills at the same time. It just feels kind of archaic having to stand still and cast an ability. One of the biggest surprises, which actually took me a while to figure out, is that you don't gain XP from grinding mobs. You have to actually follow the main story quest if you want to level up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Part of the main story quest line is actually teaching you how to play the game, doing stuff like crafting, how your abilities work, and even how to get a mount. It's also worth noting that the max level you can get to is of course level 20. However, that being said, you do have like a gear score system, so yes, you can reach level 20, but you still need to rank up the gear that you have to be powerful enough to take on some of the more harder dungeons. Speaking of which, there is a lot that you can accomplish in this game. If you want to go away and quest, you can quest to your heart's delight. There are also dungeons, there are trials, and of course PvP. Not that PvP gets a big mentioning, because I don't think it's necessarily that popular within this game.
What? How about that? Isn't that amazing?
I did try to get some PvP clips of my own, but failed miserably because I just simply couldn't find the game. And when looking on YouTube, all the PvP clips were in Russian. So maybe you had to be Russian to enjoy PvP. I don't know. That being said though, the Dungeon Finder did seem to be popular, it was very quick to get a game, and I had no idea what was really going on. I was clearly in a dungeon with higher level people than me, who were just rushing through to the end. Which is great, I understand, you know, I'm the noob in a situation, I should expect that. I think this probably gives you an indication as to what the population consists of. I think it's a lot of veteran players as opposed to new players. Another thing I noticed as a new player was that there wasn't much of a social aspect. I mean, I could see other players on the screen, you know, they were doing the same task as me, but they weren't interacting with me, they weren't talking to me. I did actually activate the push to talk, thinking, oh, maybe I can talk to people in game because there's VoIP. And no one talked to me. I was left alone, just saying hello to the abyss. Hi, I'm you, can you hear me? I don't know if that works. Hello? Hello?
Hello? Is it me you're looking for?
Hello? Hello, I'm new to the game. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well, note to self, nobody uses fucking voice chat. What the fuck is that? I do think Veteran Endgame probably has more of a social scene to it, but yeah, from a new player perspective, it felt very lonely. It felt very much like a MMO I was trying to solo, which could feel challenging at times. There were certain bosses which weren't necessarily like Elden Ring level difficulty, but they did make me question what I was doing as a player and might have even killed me once or twice before I learnt my lesson and eventually succeeded. I did enjoy the added benefit of having a companion and even your mounts being able to like be customized and give you special abilities. And there's obviously a lot more to the customization you can do. The outfitting was really good. The fact that you can actually deconstruct armor and it'll be like a style that you can wear later. There's loads of really good features about this MMO. But there was one thing that was just constantly looming over my head and it left a very bad taste in my mouth. And that is of course the monetization. Going into Neverwinter, I knew next to nothing about this game. I knew that it was associated with the Dungeons & Dragons franchise, and I knew that it was free to play. I purposely avoided any reviews of this title before playing, because I wanted to go in with an open mind and have my own opinion as to what was to come. I know a lot of people think I'm a brain dead fucking moron, and that's absolutely fine, but when it comes to free to play games, I'm not stupid enough to think, oh, it's going to be free all the way. You know, I could do everything I could possibly want for free. There's always some aspect of paying. And it's sort of like an unwritten contract that when you play free-to-play games, you're going to be encouraged or advertised to at some point in the game to go purchase something. But when it comes to Neverwinter, I felt like some of the tactics were a bit shady. I am not a fan of loot boxes. It's basically gambling, and I don't mind it if it was advertised as gambling, but it never really is, and there's no real regulations around it. But what I found really shady with Neverwinter was that they gave me these loot boxes for free, or so it would seem, because to actually open up a loot box, you need to purchase a key. I've played this game for 30 hours and I have 70 loot boxes sat in my inventory, goading me on, trying to get me to gamble away my money to try and get a new mount, a new cosmetic, or whatever the fuck else. And if it wasn't for my Twitch chat, I wouldn't know that I could actually sell these loot boxes, that I didn't have to keep them on my person, or that the items inside aren't really worth that much in value. If you offer someone a cigarette, they're not necessarily going to smoke it, but if you give them a whole pack of cigarettes and put it in their pocket and then keep giving them packs, eventually they're probably going to cave. And that's what it feels like with these loot boxes. I like the fact that mounts have this feature where they give you an extra skill in your bar. I think that's very clever and a cool way of doing things. But that also adds to the problem of monetization, because you're going to see a big shiny mount and the first thing that's going to drop in your head is, I wonder what skill that has and I wonder how overpowered it will be. And then to add to the whole pay to win aspect of it, the best races in the game, you can believe, are behind a paywall. Now, I know some people will argue there's astral diamonds which you can convert for other stuff. There's also the marketplace. So technically you don't have to pay for anything. You just have to go grind. And I'm okay with going to grind stuff. Lord of the Rings Online had a system very similar to this. But as a new player, you are made to feel like you have to buy stuff. And I understand it's a business and everything else, but I don't know, it just felt a bit shady the way they were doing things. It's just a constant reminder of how MMOs are going these days with the whole over monetization. So going back to my intro, why did Josh Strife Hayes quit Neverwinter? Well, let me put it in his own words.
Neverwinter looks and plays great. Many MMOs do, but underneath, this game is all about the money.
And the thing is, the more I streamed this game, the more the sentiment was echoed that you have to pay if you want to be good at this game. You can't just simply grind, you have to actually buy into the monetized store.
If you are still going to defend Neverwinter and still say it's not pay to win, consider this. No matter how long you've been playing or how skilled you think you are, I could spend enough money to be more powerful than you within the hour.
There is no worse feeling than just your time not being respected. And if you could just pay to be better off in a game, then what is the point in playing it? And Josh's main reason for quitting Neverwinter is because the over monetization. And I understand this greatly because I came from the Elder Scrolls Online, which is now an over monetized cesspit. And as someone who's already gone through the experience of watching a game I like slowly die, I really don't want to start playing a game for it to happen again. And I can tell you straight away, Neverwinter has some really good mechanics, it has some very good lore, but that monetization, I can just sniff it from a mile away. This has been a very strange video to make because I really do like the combat, I really do like the customization, and I like a lot of the features that they have. But that monetization just lingers way too much, and just knowing what the end result will be is so off-putting. It is beyond off-putting. I get that most MMOs have some sort of cash store, and it's kind of like very hard to avoid. I mean, hell, Lord of the Rings Online literally has the store on your action bar at the bottom. But the in-game currency is a lot easier to understand, it's easier to gain, and you can actually unlock chapters and even character slots with that currency. Whereas Neverwinter, they make it really convoluted on purpose, so you do feel like you have to get the old credit card out. And the cherry on top, if you want to be competitive, you're going to have to pay for that. I've spoken to a lot of people within my own community who have played this game and they really enjoyed it. And that's the key word there. They enjoyed it, but they don't necessarily play it now. A lot of them drop off and go on to other MMOs. The main hook for this game is the D&D theme, but should you delve into an MMO because it's loosely associated around a franchise that you like? I don't know. So to answer the question, should you play Neverwinter in 2023? I'm undecided, because I have racked up the hours in this game and I could probably easily rack up more, but I will just probably hate myself for doing it. So that's my answer, which isn't a great answer, but it's the answer you're going to get. And on that bombshell, I'll end the video. If you want to add your voice to the conversation as to whether Neverwinter is worth playing, by all means, comment below. Did I get it right? Am I just being too sensitive? Let me know. And if you have enjoyed my content, please leave a like, maybe consider subscribing, and I'll leave a couple of videos on the screen right now, which you might find interesting. And on that, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.